Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Doc. I'm your host, Jennifer Filzen, and today I have with me Eric Kussin of Same Here Global. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me, Doctor.
I love it. And forgive me, I think I said it wrong. Kussin. Anyway, welcome. And you're in New York,
Isn't
and
it
you're
funny?
doing.
We're having a conversation about the brain, right? And look at how the brain sometimes does what it does to us. So
I know, right? So you have this really interesting name for your company, Same Here Global, and you're dealing with mental health. Tell us a little bit about what you do and the good news you're making in the world.
thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. So it's interesting that you say that we have an interesting name. The term mental health and the feelings that it engenders when we hear mental, right? Because of what we've thought about that term for so long as a society. Same here is actually based off an American Sign Language sign, like, doctor, you and I were the same, right? And so a gesture back and forth, thumb at my chest, pinky pointed out at you, gesturing back and forth. Now, why would that be the message that we want to get across in the space of mental health? For so long, the way that this topic has been discussed has been discussed in the binary. There's a sick group of people who have a group of labels, and those labels are mental illness labels. And you have anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD, ADD, ADHD. You live in that category, or you don't. You're one or the other. And that stems off of a statistic that's often used in this space, which is that 1 in 5 people deal with mental illness. And the reality is 5 in 5 people have dealt with mental health being impacted, just like we deal with our physical health being impacted. And the only way we are ever able to talk about mental health in the collective is by looking at it through the lens of lived experiences that we all go through: divorces, breakups, job loss, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, bullying, cyberbullying, sickness of loved ones, loss of loved ones. The list is a mile long of the difficult life challenges that we go through. But they start to shift the nervous system in such ways that our mental health is impacted as a result. And so when we say same here, whether you want to look at it as fortunate or not fortunate, but went through a pretty ridiculous story myself, and we can get into that propelled me into this space. But where I was before I started in it was in professional sports. And so as I came out of the abyss that I was in, I had the opportunity to rally around the relationships that I had in the professional sports world and to start to lean on athletes and entertainers who are willing to share. I've got a story just like everyone else does. And so that's where the Same Here message came from, was here's my story of what happened growing up. Here's what happened to me. Here's where it led to, which I think is a divergence from what we've seen in this space for a while now, where we're patting ourselves on the back saying more and more people are opening up. If all they're opening up is saying, I'm so-and-so celebrity, I have so-and-so disorder, and then use Talkspace or Calm or BetterHelp, we're not getting anywhere. We're continuing to tell more and more people, okay, there's more people who live in that 1 in 5 category, but we're not normalizing that everyone faces challenges, and this is a common human experience.
Wow, I love what you're saying, and there's so much to unpack here. You know, it's kind of fascinating. A friend of mine is working on her PhD, dealing with kids with autism and reading issues, and so that started a lot of conversation. And I don't know about you, but like I get onto TikTok, and 2 hours of my life gets sucked away every day because it's always fascinating to see what's on there. And there's so much about autism, ADHD, OCD, like so many things. And I'm so impressed by the fact that, for better or for worse, COVID kind of made us start to talk about and identify the issues. And a lot of us are saying same here. And then I look at my own family, it's like, oh my gosh, I think we have these traits in our family. And oh, I guess that does explain some of my quirkiness. And so it's just interesting how you're absolutely right. A lot of us who are studying it, seeing it, when there's more of a conversation, it's being talked about. Now, I love to hear about success stories. So do you have any anybody in your practice that you want to share a story about them anonymously, of course. But yeah, tell us some of the good things you've been doing with your organization.
Well, success stories on the personal side of things, let me start with that first, just because, I think I'm amazed every single day by some of what I hear of personal challenges that people have come over. I mentioned having the relationship with athletes leading up to this point and needing there to be a group of people around which we could rally this idea. And so someone who's become one of my best friends is a gentleman who I didn't know actually before I got into this space. So having worked in professional sports for 15 years, you do meet a lot of folks, but this particular gentleman I didn't know. And I reached out to him on all places of LinkedIn. And you're usually not going to get a professional athlete, let alone someone who's a top 50 player of all time, reaching out back to you. But I think it says a lot about his character. Is a gentleman named Theo Fleury. And Theo is an incredible NHL hockey player. He played for the Calgary Flames his rookie year. He won a Stanley Cup with them, won Olympic gold medals with Canada. And the reason why I related to Theo so much, and the reason why when you said success stories, I thought to bring him up, is because you saw this long career that he had in the NHL spanning over 10 years where he was dominant, scored over 1,000 points, was one of the leaders on his team every place he went to. And we come to find out that when his career is over, and I'm sorry for the graphic nature of this this next description, is he's sitting in his house, in his retirement house, a year after his NHL career ended, with a gun rattling between his teeth, about to end it all. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the background of all of that, and where's the healing journey that ended up coming as a result of the scary story that I'm just sharing right there? Theo, at 16 years old, was training as a hockey player and was living with his coach at the time, who was a world-renowned coach known throughout all of Canada that helped players get to the NHL. And that coach raped Theo over 150 times over the course of a year. And for many reasons. One, that was his one-way ticket to get to the NHL. Two, he couldn't really help with being able to, open up and share, because he's holding him back on that story, making sure that that's not getting out there. So, so Theo ended up leading towards drugs, gambling, sex, you name every vice that there was during his NHL career, and then finds himself at this place at the end of his career because of so much pain that had built up. And to see the way that he's been able to turn it around and been able to really now have a career and a life of service and help others based on a lived experience leading towards something incredible has been so incredible to see.
Oh, wow. You're absolutely right. Boy, you're absolutely right. I think we're going to have you come back for another interview, just because your stories are so amazing and we haven't even gotten into your story. But listen, we're running out of time. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you were intrigued by what Eric Kussin is doing over at Same Here Global. If you want to find out more about his practice and how he's helping athletes and regular people get through their challenges, please go to Buzz TV at iwantabuzz.com to find out more. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.